Most people associate Japan with its samurais. Before the Meiji Restoration, Japan was ruled by the samurais and the shogunates. Traditionally, Japan always had a favorable tendency to militarism. Militarism is defined as the belief or desire of a government or people that the country should maintain a strong military capability and be prepared to use it aggressively to defend or promote national interests. The point where militarism began to become a key belief in the Japanese government was in the 1930s. This was caused by a combination of political, social, and economic factors. Socially, the public support for militaristic acts played a huge factor in the rise of militarism. Public support further emphasizes and increases the contribution of the other political and economic factors. The first public support was heavily influenced to the state religion Shintoism. In this picture, Amaterasu, the Shinto sun goddess, was claimed to be the ancestor of the emperor. It defined the Japanese race as superior to other races. This belief led to the collective belief of Japanese key role in Asia's leadership, and will eventually be an underlying value in Japan in World War II and the Japanese coast prosperity sphere. Belief in Japan's importance in Asia was further augmented by Japan's victory over Russia in the Russo-Japanese War of 1904 and 1905. This further bolstered Japanese belief in its destiny to lead Asia. For example, we can see in this picture that the news of Japan's victory spreads quickly and really bolstered public support for the military. Political factors are split into two different types of factors, domestic and international. Domestically, there was the rise of the ultra-nationalist groups like the Cherry Blossom Society and the Blood Brothers. Civil unrest and political tensions caused by the radical right in response to the infections of the party government and the selfish Zaibatsu companies led to the demand of the Showa Restoration.
The common goal was to push aside a corrupt and incompetent regime that proved itself incapable of solving the nation's problems.
Many of such groups planned coups and assassinations to return Japan to the imperial rule and create even more prosperous Japan. Assassination of the Prime Minister Unukai Toyoshi picture above in 15 May 1932 and other attempted coups exposed the fragile structure of Japanese politics, contributing to a snowballing loss of confidence in party politicians, according to McLean. Thus, the party government was dissolved and national unity cabinets returned. From then on, the persecution of those accused of liberalism brought the mood of internationalism into eclipse, as most Japanese began closing behind the ranks of the military. Internationally, diplomatic relations and Japan's foreign policy motivated the rise of militarism. In the beginning, Japan continually signed unfair treaties which received the brunt end of the stick on many occasions. An example was the 1921 Washington Conference, where Japan signed an unfavorable budget ratio of 5:3 for the US, Britain, and Japan, respectively. To add to Japan's dislike of Western powers, many strong racial prejudices of Westerners towards Japanese were showcased in many national policies. In 1906, San Francisco ordered Japanese and other Asian children to attend segregated schools. This series of international fronts to Japanese pride and status provided fuel to the militaristic imperialist sentiments of Japan. In Japan's foreign policy of expansionism, Japan attempted many military conquests in the surrounding areas to ensure the safety and security of Japan. This led to more and more buffer zones, first in Korea then in Manchuria. These military conquests were met with the adoration and celebration of the people. The public support played a crucial role to this rise of militarism because the mass support from the public caused the party of government to hesitate on punishing the military generals who undertook such conquests without the permission of the government. Because these actions went unpunished, the Japanese public began to depend on the military and push for a greater role of the military. However, these military conquests did not go unnoticed in the international community. After China's request for help, the League of Nations sent in the Lytton Commission, led by Lord Lytton, to write the report about Japan's actions in the Manchurian incident. In October 1932, the Lytton report clearly rejects the excuse of self-defense used in the Manchurian incident. In February 1933, the League of Nations met to discuss and finally accepted the Lytton report. As a response, Japan formally withdrew from the League of Nations. When Japan formally withdrew from their membership to the League of Nations, they began abrogating the agreements in the naval treaties and finally ending their participation in 1936, as you can see from the cartoon above. According to McLean, this isolation from the international community reinforced the growing belief that the country's survival depended upon the creation of a secure hegemony in Asia. Deterioration of international relations led to an increasing dependency on the military as a source of power on a world stage. There were also economic factors in the rise of militarism. Japan was in economic turmoil by the 1930s. After the Great Kanto earthquake, bank runs, and the Great Depression, many people were living in poverty, unable to earn money to get food. Thus, more people signed up for conscription. This ensured the survival of the males as the army provided the basic necessities. This contributed to the rise of militarism in Japan. Military expansion was economically very beneficial for Japan, as Korea and Manchuria contributed much needed raw materials and land space, which Japan as an island did not have. As we can see, the aggressive use of the military to promote and protect national interests was in line with the economic development of Japan. Now moving on to the second part of my presentation, the influence of the army in politics. The military in Japan was independent from the government. They could act on their own accord and they were free from civilian control in the party government. The chief of the army and navy reported directly to the emperor, not to the Japanese prime minister. An example of the independence of the military is the orchestration of the Manchurian incident by Colonel Shishiro Itagaki, who was the guy before, and the Lieutenant Colonel Kanji Ishibara, and not the decision of the Japanese government. This is Lieutenant Colonel. This immense power of the military was further augmented by the military's decisive say to the formation of any civilian government. Because of the law that states that the war minister has to be an active general, the permission of the chief of the army or the navy had to be sought. Therefore, the chief of the army and the chief of the navy had the power to pull the plug on any cabinet that was not making decisions favorable to their interests.
In conclusion, Japan's rise to militarism was due to the political, economic, and social factors. Politically, the civil unrest caused by the ultra-nationalist groups caused the demise of the party government. International relations with the Western powers were deteriorating, and this led to the isolation of Japan and the increased dependency on the military. Also, the aggressive foreign policy of expansionism was met with the applause of the public, furthering support for the military. Economic benefits contributing to the rise of militarism, as the aggressive use of military was used to promote and protect economic development. Thank you for listening for 6 minutes and 40 seconds!